Kathleen?
Hi, how are you?
Are we all set? Are we all set?
Yes, we are.
Well, you all have a press release. I think that we have an historic agreement today. For a number of years, the neighborhood, together with the people at the Ambassador Bridge, as well as the Customs Authority and the General Administrative Organization of the federal government, have been attempting to work out an improved plan of access and exit to the Ambassador Bridge that would accommodate the needs of the community and the desire of the community to remain and to restabilize itself, as well as the obvious need for a more efficient ability to handle passengers and traffic across that bridge. The bridge has become especially important in the last couple of years in view of the historic trade agreement between the United States and Canada. We see Detroit as the major terminal along the whole Canadian-American border as a point of exchange for this commerce, along with our sister city on the other side, Windsor. This treaty makes it all the more important that we reorganize the handling of people and goods across that bridge. And I believe that the agreement that we've reached today takes us a long way in that direction. Now, participants in this press conference and signing the agreement on behalf of their respective groups will be Father Lawrence Carney, Associate Pastor of St. Anne's Church and Chairperson of Hubbard Richard Citizens District Council, Sally Rendon, President of Hubbard Richard Community Council, Don Stamper, President of Detroit International Bridge Company, and also present to witness the signing is Harry Gordon, District Director of the Northern Division of the Public Building Service of the United States General Services Administration. That's a big one. And also signing will be Kathleen Windler, President, Mexican Town Commercial Development Corporation. The Mexican Town Realty, a wholly owned subsidiary of the Detroit International Bridge Company, will build, this is part of this agreement, will build 58 rental housing units in the area. The bridge company has pledged $1 million of its own money in this effort. The Hubbard Richard District Council and the Detroit International Bridge Company will create a non-profit corporation, develop new single-family housing to fill in vacant lots in the area. So in addition to new housing, there will be a fill-in on vacant lots. The bridge company is contributing $50,000 in seed money to the corporation. Manufacturers Bank has already committed to provide mortgage money to eligible applicants. The Mexican Town Commercial Development Corporation, a joint venture of the Southwest Business Association and the Hubbard Richard Community Council, will create a fiesta garden on city-owned land to enhance commercial activity on Bagley, which is another step toward establishing a major Mexican town area over there. The bridge company is contributing $25,000 to this. The project's expected cost is $20,000. This agreement clearly defines which areas will be used for housing, which for commercial development, for U.S. Customs, for bridge-related activities, and for the proposed Wayne County Welcome Center. As I say, I think it's a significant agreement. We've been working on it for several years now. I know over the last 2 years, I've made 2 trips to Chicago to talk to GAO and customs officials, trying to work out the agreement from the government point of view. And there have been ongoing talks in the community, and we finally culminated with this agreement. I'm going to ask the participants in this agreement each to say a few words. They know what's in this agreement, and they know where they stand on it. And so I'm going to start off by asking Father Carney.
I want to thank you, Your Honor, and this is really a historic day for Hubbard Richard, and if I can boast about our community, I think we have a tremendous community in Hubbard Richard there that has been living under a shadow, a cloud of doubt for about 25 years or more, and they are a multi-ethnic, multicultural community, multiracial, and have somehow been able to survive through all kinds of difficulties through these years. Under the shadow of doubt, I'm just really happy today for the people of Hubbard Richard that I think at last the cloud of doubt will be removed, and working together with the Ambassador Bridge Company and working together with all the different groups involved here, we will be able to have some certainty for the neighborhood. The people can be sure of what's going to be happening in their neighborhood for the future. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Father. Isabel Wilson, President of Hubbard Richard Community Council.
All right. I would just like to say that with this agreement, the signing will mark a new era. And what I'd like to say is also, all those that moved out of Hubbard Richard, come back home. We're waiting for you. The door is open. Those of you that want to be a member of the family, the door is open. Thank you.
Thank you. Sally Rendon, Director of Mexican Town Commercial Development Corporation.
One thing I need to say is I would like to thank the city for bringing us all together to be able to make the neighborhood alive again. Thank you.
Dan Stamper, President of Detroit International Bridge Company.
I'm very happy and proud to be here for this milestone occasion. I would first like to thank the mayor and his staff and the members of the negotiating team for their efforts. The Ambassador Bridge, through this agreement, has offered a large investment into new housing and infill housing. We've also supported the Fiesta Gardens through the Mexican Town Commercial Development. The agreements with the neighborhood and with GSA to date will provide users of the Ambassador Bridge, both trucks and autos, with an efficient means of crossing the international border. Again, I'd like to thank the mayor and his staff. Thank you.
Well, we're going to have the signing right here. You have it?
Yes, Mayor. For the participants, we will only sign one agreement now, and then we will sign the remaining agreements later. Signing on behalf of the International Bridge, Your Honor, is Mr. Dan Stamper.
Okay.
Signing on behalf of Hubbard Richard Citizens District Council is Father Lawrence Carney. On behalf of the Hubbard Richard Community Council, Isabel Wilson. On behalf of the Mexican Town Commercial Development Corporation, Kathleen Windler. Mayor Young will now witness each of the signatures in 4 different places, Your Honor. Well, witnessing on behalf of Hubbard-Richard District Council will be Louis Smith, who is the Executive Director of the District Council. Witnessing on behalf of the Hubbard-Richard Community Council is Susan Perez, who is an active community worker. And witnessing on behalf of Mexican Town Commercial Development Corporation is Sally Rendon. That's it. Thank you. Sure. That it? That's it.
I'd like to thank the various members of my staff, neighborhood services, or neighborhood city halls, and Ron Fleece for helping to bring this thing together, to land with it. I can understand the pride that the people from the Mexican Town area have in this accomplishment, which basically preserves the integrity of their community. And as has been pointed out, we provide a stability for that part of the community which remains, and we provide for building new facilities so that hopefully those who had to leave can now return and rejoin that community. We had a similar experience on my side of town, which is the east side. And we, like the people in the Mexican Town area, took us a little time before we knew what was happening to us. By the time we learned how to cope with the situation, half the area was gone. But we did rebuild the area. And if you go over there now, at least if I go over there now, I can see some of the people I've known for 50, 60 years. They're still there, which means the neighborhood's still there. And I look forward to being able to do the same thing on the west side. If it means nothing else, in my opinion, this is a clear demonstration that we have the machinery in this city if we all work together to preserve our neighborhoods and to improve them at the same time, all for the greater betterment of the city of Detroit. Now, if any of you have any questions for anyone at this table, now's the time.
Mary, could you give us just a description of what the Fiesta Gardens, is that what it was called? What would that consist of?
Well, I'd rather have someone who's active in planning Fiesta Gardens do that. Would that be
Sally
so?
Rendon.
So.
The Fiesta Gardens will have...
Could you come to the left, please?
Can you get your name, ma'am?
Yes, Sally Rendon, Director of the Mexican Town Commercial Development. Fiesta Gardens consist of landscaping, land on the south side of Bagley between 20th and 21st Streets. It would have, we're hoping to have a wrought iron fence, some grass, archway, maybe a fountain, things that we as Hispanics know about. And a lot of our ideas are things that we are accustomed to, which will become a beautiful site for the community. It will be something that the community will have pride in. It will also be a catalyst for the existing businesses and future development of Mexican Town.
Sally, you can refer to the picture.
And here is one, or this is the picture that we have of the Fiesta Gardens. And it's going to take some time to do this, but on June 21st, June 21st will be our dedication. Also with a Mexican rodeo, a charreada, which we plan on doing. It will be a 3-day event, and this is our kickoff to the Fiesta Gardens and the development of Mexican Town commercial development. Thank you.
Where is it going to be?
This is going to be on Bagley, between 20th and the Service Drive on the east side, right north of the Ambassador Bridge.
Can you tell us what the goals are for the single-family housing? How many units do you hope to build?
Okay, I will address that to Mr. Dan Stanton?
Lewis Smith.
Lewis Smith? Okay.
The single-family housing to fill in the vacant lots in the neighborhood is being done on the premise that there are people who have ties to the neighborhood through their relatives, through their work, or St. Anne's Church that wish to remain or come back to the neighborhood, but there isn't housing there for them. It's basically a private effort where the community will be assisting private individuals in having houses built for them. They're owner-occupied. We expect to do between 3 and 10 houses this year. We've already got down payments for the first 3, and 30 houses or so over the next 3 years. After that, we expect that the development in the neighborhood will have been promoted to the extent that we will not be needed to do that, and people will come into the neighborhood and build houses on their own. But as long as there's someone who wants to build in the neighborhood, we'll be there to help them. Thank you.
Mr. Smith, also while you're there at the mic, what about your complaint that you filed with the state, accusing the Mexican town of blockbusting the neighborhood? What's going to happen to that?
That complaint will be withdrawn per the agreement.
Just like you said, we will be there to help them. Who are we?
The Hubbard-Richard Citizens District Council and the Hubbard-Richard Community Council, we're working together on this, and now the bridge company has also pledged to work with us, and they are contributing funds to this effort. The $50,000 that they are contributing will be used to provide construction lending for these houses. The mortgages will be, in some cases, MSHDA-backed mortgages, FHA, VA mortgages, and other instruments that are available on the common commercial market.
Will current or past residents have first choice?
We are trying to build houses for people who want to live in the neighborhood. Therefore, anybody is eligible because they will become a resident when their house is built.
We recall your appearing, many of the people around that table appearing in numerous council sessions. Does this mean that all the differences were worked out?
It means that we have found that it is better to work as a partnership than it is to fight with each other. And we are dedicated now to working in partnership with all of the community and commercial operations in the neighborhood and government.
Get that line from the mayor?
No.
I don't own it, it just happened to be a good line.
He gives it next time.
Mr. Smith, who do you represent?
I'm the administrator for the Hubbard-Richard Citizens District Council.
And you've had some disagreement with the Hispanic community up to this point?
Historically, the different community organizations, the different government entities and commercial entities in the neighborhood have had some divisions. We have put those divisions behind us, and we are together now. And if you want to focus on something, focus on the fact that we are working together, because what's past is past.
Thank you very much, sir.
Your first name, sir?
Louis, L-O-U-I-S.
Anyone else?
Mayor, I have a question for you, and this does relate to the community, though not directly to this particular story. You asked for National Guard in the city. This morning, at Army on Detroit's southwest side, a store was burned down, belonging to a Jordanian family, apparently firebombed.
Well, let me say this. I did not ask for a National Guard to come in here and patrol the streets. That is not what I asked for. The function of the National Guard has been clearly established in past wars to patrol the entrances and exits to the city of Detroit, the tunnel, the bridge. That's a proper function for them. I don't want National Guards marching in front of stores in this city, and I didn't ask for it. And I wish you'd recognize that fact.
What do you think ought to be done now that this has happened, now that a Jordanian family apparently has been attacked, and they were threatened a lot, the neighbors?
We are doing everything we can with the Detroit police. It's going to cost money. I think that our police force is hard pressed as it is. The governor in his last recommendation proposed to take $4 million in the equity package that goes to the police department to eliminate it. At the same time, he says, let the police take care of all these problems. I say that we need some help from the federal government, from the state government, to help keep the peace in this city.
This happened this morning. Do you think there could be more? Is that why you're saying that?
Well, I always was fearful that something like this would happen. Again, I would appeal to the citizens of this city not to engage in any type of attacks on anybody because of their race or their religion or their ethnic backgrounds. And I was saying that in addition to that, we're going to enforce the law. And anybody we catch doing that's going to be fully prosecuted.
Are you worried?
I'm concerned. I'm not worried. I think we can handle the situation.
Big Arab American community here, bigger than
The biggest of anywhere in the country, and that's precisely the reason I raised the question.
But you're not that worried at this moment.
I don't know what that word is. I'm very concerned. Now, what do you want out of me?
Are you going to renew your request to the governor?
I've made the request. There's no need to renew it. It stands. He said that he has not refused it. It's still open.
Since even before your request, security was beefed up at airports.
Well, somebody thinks that there's a need for more security. For instance, the Federal Aviation Authority imposed upon the Metropolitan Airport and the City Airport the necessity of raising the standard of security from 1, which is normal operational security, to 4, which is the maximum security. As a result, we had to assign more police officers together with bomb-sniffing dogs and impose other security regulations on City Airport.
I was just curious to know if you were satisfied with that upgrade that occurred.
I think it was justified in the same way that I think patrolling the tunnel and the bridge is justified. It's the same type of urgency.
Mr. Mayor, regarding the police department, has Chief Hart submitted his resignation, or has an already signed resignation been dated?
I have no resignation from Chief Hart. Is that what you're saying?
There's been no discussion of time for him to resign or retire?
No, there hasn't, and I don't know why the hell you're asking the question.
Because I'd like to know.
Well, I resent it. Okay.
Mr. Mayor, what's going on with Coleman A? Have you had any talks? Have they given you any promises that they're going to stay in Detroit?
The promise that you read in their statement that they would seek an extension of their present lease at their present location for 2-3 years, and meanwhile they will examine their options. I do not know if, in effect, action taken by council and others has driven them from the city. I hope that that is not true.
Are you going to be actively working to defeat the ballot referendum that's coming up?
I certainly will, because I think that if the verdict of the naysayers, those who are against every form of development in this city, whether it's Pole Town, expansion of Cobo Hall, or Chrysler, expansion of the airport, if they are allowed to prevail, then we will be without a program to meet the needs of this city. And that's what that election's all about.
Do you have any plans to shop the Ford Auditorium site around to any other businesses in town? Has anybody expressed an interest?
There has been some interest expressed.
Well,
A deal is not a deal until it's made, and sometimes it will be discovered in Comerica even after it's made.
Mr. Mayor, what did you think of the President's State of the Union address, especially as it related to domestic issues?
I didn't think much of it. He didn't either. He didn't say much about it in his message. I think the weakness of that message was that it paid little or no attention to the fact that this nation is in the grips of a recession, and cities like Detroit are sorely in need of federal help. When I see a million here, a billion here, and a billion there being paid out to nations all around the world to keep them on our side, and when I understand they're blowing up $1 billion a year worth of armaments bombs in the Gulf, a few of those billions could help people eat and find housing in the city of Detroit. I don't think we can afford to ignore the social needs in our country. And that's what he seems to be doing. And that seems to be implicit, if not explicit, in the opening proposals made by Governor England for budget cuts.
Mayor, is the war overshadowing domestic?
I don't think there's any question about that.
Do you expect any change?
Yeah, I think that these needs cannot be swept under the rug. They will not go away. The song says, "We will not lie down. We will not go quietly."
Mayor, I mean, at least up through last night, the city police department wouldn't release figures on the number of officers who have been recalled to active duty in
Would not?
services. Would not. Was there a reason?
I don't know if there's a big reason. I've been getting regular reports. The last I heard was something like 12 or 14. And I asked for an estimate of how many we could anticipate, and it really was not a great number. It did not exceed 30. Any further questions? Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
And
Thank you, Mr.
thank you. Thank you. Well, it's an old newspaper habit. I think today is a very important occasion. As you can see from your release, Detroit will host a 1992 Builders Association Homeorama in Victoria Park, which is located in the Jefferson-Chalmers area on the east side of Detroit, not far from the newly building Chrysler plant. The 1992 Homeorama will be the first ever to showcase affordable, detached, single-family housing by the Builders Association. It will also be the first time that a Homeorama has been held in a major city anywhere in America. So I think it's a very important occasion. We've been striving to rebuild our city, as you know. We've been very successful in getting multiple unit structures built, whether they be apartments or senior citizens developments or condos. Not so successful with single families. This is a breakthrough, in my opinion, in that direction. About 4 years ago, we built about a dozen of these houses, assembly houses, over in the Virginia Park area. And now we contemplate a project that will have 157 single units in 2 phases. And that will involve at least 6 builders who will showcase 12 model homes, anywhere between the $75,000 and $100,000 range. A Standard Federal Bank will provide both construction, financing, and permanent home mortgages for buyers in the entire subdivision. The Builders Association is to be commended for recognizing the tremendous opportunity, tremendous potential market for single-family homes in the city of Detroit. When completed in 1992, Victoria Park will be a $17 million plus project. It will contain, as I indicated before, 157 individual houses. Preparation for this project is already underway with infrastructure, that is streets, sewers, water, electricity, being introduced onto the site. At this moment, we expect construction to start in the spring, with the build-a-rama itself to take place in early 1992, the spring of 1992. So, attending here today as testimony to the seriousness of the financial institutions as represented by Home Federal Loan, a Standard Federal Loan, excuse me, and the builders, we have representing Standard Federal Bank, Mr. Ricketts, Tom Ricketts, who is the CEO, who I'll introduce in a few minutes. From the Builders Association, we have Jim Bonadeo, who's president and who will speak and who will be introduced, and who will introduce his cohorts who are with him, as well as a surprise visitor for us until the last minute, who will also be introduced, Mr. Frederick Hash. You might have it Nash, but it's Hash. He's a community investment officer for Federal Home Loan Bank of Indianapolis, who's here because of their interest in joining in the financing of this proposition. Another indication, I think, of tremendous potential with which we are dealing at this time. And also with us is Agnes Williams, who's president of Jefferson-Chalmers Community District Council, in which area this will take place, and Agnes will be saying a few words. I think today's timing is a perfect counterbalance for yesterday's press conference about the same time and place. Yesterday we announced the interest in the negotiations that are going on with the Hilton hotel chain to build an international convention hotel on the site of the Ford Auditorium in downtown Detroit. And almost as if an answer, it's coincidental, it wasn't planned that way. To the naysayers who say you build everything downtown and nothing in the neighborhoods, comes today's announcement of the most significant development in our neighborhoods. I think it's a great day for the city of Detroit. I think that even the usually cynical press must perforce be somewhat impressed by what we have to present here today. Somewhat. Now, as I indicated, we have with us Mr. Ricketts, who will indicate to you Standard Federal Bank's interest and support for this proposition, and also introduce to you his colleagues who accompany him here this morning.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and ladies and gentlemen, and it is a pleasure to be here, and I will follow the mayor's instructions and introduce my colleagues. First of all, Mary Fowley at the far side of the room, Ronald Palmer, George Seedorf, Mike Lubig, and Jack Ray. I do not see three other folks at Standard have played a great role in putting this program together. Both Lorraine Van Etten from our staff, and most particularly our Executive Vice President and Chief Lending Officer, Gary Carley, has worked tirelessly and for a long period of time to bring this day forth. And it's a shame that he's not here today, but he had a conflict that was unavoidable. But we do want to give credit to his major effort in this regard. Standard Federal Bank is very pleased to be here today and to talk to you about Detroit Home-A-Rama, the first Home-A-Rama project of its kind in any core city in America. Standard Federal Bank believes the Detroit Home-A-Rama has the potential to be the beginning of an exciting new era for housing in Detroit. Detroit Home-A-Rama is very exciting because it also represents a major commitment to build homes in Detroit by Detroit area builders and by Detroit area lenders. As Michigan's largest home lender, we're very proud to be one of the architects of this new program, which holds so much promise for our city. We are also pleased that Standard Federal Bank will serve as a sponsor of the Home-A-Rama and has agreed to provide construction loans to all the builders who build model homes in the Detroit Home-A-Rama. Most importantly, we have also agreed to provide, of course, home loans to all the buyers in the Detroit Home-A-Rama area. We intend to make all of our various home loan programs available to qualified borrowers. Standard Federal is also seeking funds from the Federal Home Loan Bank Affordable Housing Program that will be helpful too. These loans, if they're granted and approved, will allow for home loans to be available with interest rates as low as 5% for eligible buyers. We'd like to congratulate and commend Mayor Young and Anthony Adams from his office, as well as, of course, Jim Bonadeo, President, and Irv Yaknis, Executive Director, for their efforts in making this program a reality. And we hope the rest of the business leadership in the metropolitan Detroit area join with us to help make this Detroit Home-A-Rama the best Home-A-Rama ever and an unqualified success. And we believe it's truly the potential beginning of a renaissance of new housing in the city of Detroit. And Mayor, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. Next, we'll hear from Jim Bonadeo of the Builders Association of Michigan, who in turn will introduce his associates.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to introduce some of the members of our board of directors today. Janet Campbell, Herb Lawson, Bernie Gleiberman, Bob Halpern, Abe Rand, Joe Slavic. I hope that's all. If there are any more, please raise your hand. Our association is hopeful that this Detroit Home-A-Rama will mark the beginning of a revival of new home construction within the city of Detroit. The association's board of directors on Wednesday of this week unanimously approved the association sponsorship of the Home-A-Rama in the Victoria Park subdivision. A number of our directors have already indicated their intention to participate and to build showcase houses there. And the association will recommend to the rest of its membership that they also participate. It is our intention to have a minimum of 12 showcase homes in Victoria Park. The potential new home buyers will have their choice of a variety of floor plans, designs, and new ideas. Construction is not expected to start until late August or early September, since there is a great deal that the city of Detroit will have to do in order to make the subdivision ready for construction. In addition, we believe this entire proposal should be submitted to the Common Council for its approval and its endorsement. Also, we are waiting for Standard Federal Bank to complete its arrangements for financing packages that will be attractive to potential home buyers and make this housing among the most affordable in the metropolitan area. We are, of course, giving considerable thought to the price range this market will sustain. And at the moment, it is our belief that this will be somewhere between $75,000 and $100,000. Much will depend on how low we can keep the monthly payments. Between now and the end of August, when the city completes the development of Victoria Park, our builders will be very busy with their architects, developing their plans and negotiating with their subcontractors and suppliers for the most reasonable bids. The staging of a home-orama is a difficult and complex venture, but our association has behind it 8 very successful home-oramas. So we have a great deal of confidence that the Detroit home-orama will be a huge success. We want to congratulate Mayor Young on his initiative to rebuild the neighborhoods and to bring new housing back to Detroit. We congratulate Standard Federal Bank, particularly its Chief Operating Officer, Mr. Ricketts, and its Executive Vice President, who did a great deal of hard work in this, for their participation in this very significant and visionary undertaking. I should like to add that this is some week. The county has announced their huge project around the stadium for light industrial, commercial, restaurants, and a large number of housing. Yesterday, the mayor announced a giant hotel to be built in the city. And today, the builders are making their announcement to build a home-orama. I think in all, this has been one tremendous week for Detroit. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Bonateo. And now we will hear from Frederick Hash, Vice President, Community and Reinvestment Officer for the Federal Home Loan Bank of Indianapolis. Mr. Hash.
Thank you. Certainly this is an impressive gathering, and I want to bring greetings from our President, Ron Morphew, and Executive Vice President Marty Hager. Actually, they're attending a board meeting at our bank's board meeting at the airport today, so that's why they're not here. Our bank has an affordable housing program, which is representing 5% of our members' profits, which normally go to them in dividends. So this money is actually coming out of our district, which is Indiana and Michigan, and dividends, which would normally go to our members. Standard Federal has been a leader in using this program over the past year and has been involved in some 7 successful applications last year. The project that is being considered here in Detroit for our program would allow homeowners to pay between 20 and 28% of their income for their housing expense. Certainly significant when we know across the country that renters often pay in excess of 50% of their income. So certainly giving lower income people a chance to become homeowners is very important, and we stand behind that. The standard request is for below market interest rates and also for some property tax assistance for the homeowners. It's once been said that home is where you start from, and certainly I think this the city of Detroit should be congratulated in that they are looking to put together new homes and giving people a better place to start from. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Hash. Now, the people at Jeff-Chalmers has labored long and hard to bring about this day. And in the forefront of that leadership has been Agnes Williams, President of Jeff-Chalmers Citizen District Council.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The Jefferson-Chalmers community is pleased to participate in this exciting adventure. We've waited a long time, we struggled a long time. For a while we thought it wasn't going to happen, but it seems like it is. We are also looking forward to the construction of a new shopping center which will complement both the new and existing housing, in addition to the other 2 projects that are currently under construction. Thank you so much for your patience with us, and good luck.
Thank you very much. You know, the building of this housing in the same area where Chrysler is completing the construction of a $1 billion plant, in the same area where we have expanded the city airport. I understand that's where you're having your meeting. Already it's paying off. We're having meetings out there. But it fits together with a plan for revitalizing the neighborhoods, and specifically the east side of Detroit. Newtown, in-town is coming closer and closer to a reality and less a vision and a dream. And I want to congratulate all assembled here for their part in it. Now, are there any questions on the matter at hand?
Is it possible that Mr. Ricketts could step up?
I think that's possible.
Try.
Yes, sir.
Do you consider the price of $75,000 to $100,000 affordable? How so?
Yes, we think it is affordable. I don't think that is excessive in terms of housing costs. It's going to be, as the mayor and others have said, and Mr. Hash have said, what the monthly payments will be. We have applied for 2 special programs, although all of our programs are available now, including a variety of special initiatives we already have. We already have a Partners United program and several other initiatives with various government agencies. The 2 we have in particular that have been mentioned slightly today is that we have requested an abatement of $3,000 per homeowner for 50 homes in terms of the first-year taxes. Now, that has not been approved. The second is for at least 30 of the home sites to have the interest rate reduced to at least 5%. So I think it's affordable in terms when you get down to the monthly payment and the handling of the maintenance and other costs that are involved.
What kind of minimum income would you expect from someone?
On those two programs, to qualify, your income it must be no more than 80% of the average median income in the area. And as I understand it, that brings the income level to about $31,000, $31,32. Is that correct, Fred? I think
that's the ceiling.
The ceiling. That's the ceiling. Right.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any more questions?
Question for you, Mr. Mayor, if I may. Back in 1989, I believe, Ms. Williams can help support this. There was a groundbreaking, I believe, with yourself and the governor there on another site in the area to build 100 homes.
That's the same site.
Okay, those were never built?
It was held up until now.
What happened, if I may ask?
Well, the money was slow in coming, and so were the investors.
So this project now is that?
Yes.
That space?
Yes, it wasn't 89, it was 90. It might have been 89, fall.
August 89, August 30th, 1989.
Oh, I see you have it there. Well, you know, you may be right.
Once in a while we get it right.
Okay.
But again, that land that was supposed to be land is now what this project is.
Yeah, what the governor was announcing at that time was legislation that had been passed in Lansing to provide for the infrastructure. That is the roads, the sewers, etc., which I just got through describing to you. That was a long step in the right direction, but it wasn't quite enough money. And we've had to supplement that money. Now we have all the money in hand, and we're in the process of completing that infrastructure.
You and Mr. Bonadeo both for this tremendous week in Detroit with the 3 announcements.
I didn't mention 3, but go ahead.
How solid are all 3?
I'll speak to 2. The one that I announced yesterday, and we're in serious negotiations. I think that's solid. and the one today. We're still working on the final plans for a stadium. There's no agreement yet, but I think there's a much better than even chance that we will come to a positive agreement.
Looking good for Detroit.
I think so. I think it's been a banner week.
You figure we're going to hear something from Mr. Schembeck on Monday?
I'll let Mr. Schembeck speak for himself. Bo knows.
Plan to be over there Monday?
I might.
Well, if it's good news coming. If we see you there, we can anticipate good news, right?
You said that, Jim.
I'm just asking.
Any other questions? And if not, well, thank you very much.